Hello and welcome to another IELTS speaking video. So today it's Miss Anh Thư again. Yes, she is the one who received a lot of views in her videos because her her ability is quite good. It's about band 7, something like that. Okay, so Miss Thư, are you ready for your practice now?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, great. So regarding the practice, let's just try some topics from let's say 79. Let's try 79. It's about numbers. 79. So what numbers do you like and why?
Mm, Personally, I think I like number 3 and number 7. Well, I mean, in total, 3 plus 7 is 10.
Mhm.
And also, 7 is the total sum of my birthday. So I think these are 3 and 7 are my lucky numbers.
Mm. Interesting. Okay, so what numbers are important to you? Now, it's not a lucky number anymore, it's important numbers.
Well, I think the numbers that are important to me is 22 and 12 because basically that's my birthday. So definitely they are really important to me.
Okay, so are you good at math then?
Absolutely no. I have always been terrible at math. Even when I was in secondary school or I'm in high school, that doesn't really change. I do not always really I'm not always excellent at maths. I think it's my worst nightmare.
Oh, I see. So are you still struggling with math now?
All the time, yeah.
Ugh. I mean, so you're in high school now and you're struggling with all these advanced math and things like that, right? Am I right?
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's terrible. As I remember, oh my God, it was physics that was a big problem for me, I think. Are you better at other science subject like physics, chemistry, or biology?
Sadly, no, I'm not good at science subjects at all.
I say, now that sounds even more sad. All right. So can you remember phone numbers well?
Actually, I think I can really remember phone numbers really well. Usually,
Hmm.
I divided them into group of numbers. For example, the first three numbers and the four next, and then the last. So I think in that way, I can really remember phone numbers really well.
So basically you group numbers in in groups of 3 or 4, right? So you group numbers in group of 3 or 4, nhóm nó lại theo nhóm 3 hay 4. Like for example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, something like that, right? It's like that. I see. So, like for example, in a number, you group it like this, like let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7, 8, 9, something like that, right? All right. So, do you need to use numbers in the future? Think
I
about
think,
it.
uh, yeah, what are you saying?
So, do you need to use numbers in the future? Like, for example, for your work, for your studies, do you think you need to use numbers a lot in the future?
Actually, I think I do need to use numbers in the future, but not really frequently. Because I think when I go to university, I wouldn't major in maths or some science subjects that are related to numbers. And also, when I go to work, I think I would choose a job in particular that is not associated with any numbers because they have always been because I have always been struggling with numbers. So I think in some cases I still need to use them, but sometimes, yeah, but I think most of the case, I wouldn't use them much.
Hmm. You never know. You might never know, you know?
Yeah, I just guess.
Like, for example, AI is it's replacing humans a lot. And I never know. Like sometimes maybe in the future we'll have to use them anyway somehow. Okay, let's go to 80 now. It's about art. So, do you like art? Art here can means like the art subject in school, or art in general, like a concept, So, do you like art?
I think it depends on what kinds of art. To be specific, I really enjoy,
Specific,
I mean,
specific,
specific,
specific. To be
specific,
specific.
to be specific. I really love music, but I think I do not really enjoy art that is about pictures, paintings, or drawings because I just find myself cannot relate to those kinds of art. But music I really like. So I think it depends greatly on what kinds of art.
I see. Now, have you ever been to an art gallery?
Uh, to be honest, I have never been to an art gallery ever before. Mm, the reason is that I'm not really interested in those kinds of art, such as paintings or drawings. I'm just not drawn to those. So rather than go to an art gallery, I would choose to spend my time in some other destinations that are of more interest to me.
Yes. So, do you often go to art galleries?
As I have
Art
mentioned,
galleries actually include like any kind of paintings, any kind of sculptures, any kind of exhibition. Think about it. Do you often go to art gallery and do you think they are necessary?
I think it's a good form of entertainment and also information and knowledge for a specific number of people. But I think it's not really necessary to go to art galleries. Actually, because people can learn about art in many different ways through the internet or through many other forms of displays of art. So I think so for me, I think it's not really necessary, and I do not really often go to art galleries.
I see. Now, so did you take art lessons in your childhood?
Yes, when I was small, I used to take art lessons as a compulsory subject in my curriculum, and I find them really entertaining, and somehow they gave me a chance to be creative in my
Mhm.
drawing. However, when I grow up a little bit, uh, I do not take art lessons anymore. It is considered an optional subject, so I
I
don't choose it.
see. I see. So, an optional subject, well, that's actually quite sad. I think it's really sad because this country doesn't really, how can I say, place a big focus on art teaching. So that's why all the arts are just struggling to survive. And artists in general in Vietnam actually struggle to survive a lot. I'm not talking about like famous one, but most of the people who do art suffer a lot. All right, so how do you feel about becoming an artist? Or what do you think about becoming an artist? Artist here can means a painter, the one who paint, or artist here can means like anyone who do art.
Well, I think they are very highly admired
Mhm.
because to become an artist, they have to be really creative and they have to show their talent in order to be successful. So, and they have to they have to have constant imagination to like create a large number of paintings or products that can be shown to the public.
Mm-hmm.
So I think for me, I think they are someone who are really great, who are greatly appreciated.
Greatly appreciated indeed. Now, so, but the problem is you have to understand that artists are appreciated only if they do something else and succeed in those other fields. But if you are an artist alone, you don't do anything else to survive, people wouldn't respect you, to be honest with you. I mean, this is especially true in Asian society, you know. So if you dream to become an artist, you better do something else to support yourself and then be an artist, you know, because remember, life is hard, very hard. Now, are there any paintings on the wall of your home?
To be honest, I do not place any paintings on the wall of my home. Instead, I choose to place a photo of my whole family. I think it's a better way for me to see my family members every day when I look at the wall rather than look at some paintings that clearly I do not understand its meaning. So,
Hmm,
yeah, instead of paintings, I put a photo of my family.
I see. Well, I think everyone has a different opinion, though. To be honest with you, I prefer paintings, you know. I don't know why, but I just don't like to look at humans in pictures, something like that. I mean, it just, you never know if you, for example, at night, are they going to look at you or not? Are they going to observe you? You know, it's spooky, you know. It's quite spooky for me. Nó kỳ ghê ghê sao á. Because at night, it might feels like they are just, you know, staring at you know. Nó giống như là ban đêm thì mấy cái hình mà có người á, nó nhìn vào mặt mình. It's like that. It's quite spooky, you know. So, but paintings, if there's no humans, fine, it's great, perfect, no problem. So, what kinds of pictures or paintings do you like to put up in your home? If you have a choice, yeah. I mean,
Well, I think if I ever put up a pictures or painting in my home, I think I would choose a small one in particular because they do not they do not uh, make up a lot of space, and I think just look at the small pictures or paintings can somehow it helps me to kind of feel more peaceful rather than some big paintings.
I see. Right. Okay, that is 80. Now let's okay, let's try 83. It's about street market. Okay. So are there any street markets in your country? Street markets mean any kind of markets on the street. It can be, it can be spontaneous. You know, spontaneous mean random, right? It means it's random. And people just, they gather, people just gather, and then basically they try to sell their object, their items, and then many people gather there and become a market, you know. So it's like a spontaneous market. It means that nobody planned it to be a market there, you know. It just popped up spontaneously. So basically it just pops up spontaneously or randomly because people just gather there. So are there any street markets in your country?
Absolutely, there are a lot of street markets in my country. They can be the government or they can be just spontaneous. they just pop up randomly in many cities or in many areas of the country. And this type of market has been really popular among people because they are really convenient and there are many people. So I think it's just more convenient for people to just walk to just shop in those street markets.
I agree. Well, and also people can bargain, remember? And people can bargain in street markets a lot. And they do not have to find a place to park their car or to put their bikes, away. Of course, street market, you can do that. You can find a place to put your bikes, your motorbikes. Yeah. Okay, so what do street markets often sell?
A lot of different things are sold
Mm,
at street markets. For example, food, vegetables, or a lot of things to eat can be sold at those markets. Also, I have seen many clothes shop or a lot of restaurants, just small ones, pop up in those street markets.
hmm.
So yeah, I think in different street markets there are a different typical type of items that people sell.
I
So
see. I see. So, what do people usually buy at street markets? Remember, what they sell can be a bit different from what people buy, because what people buy it depends on the season, con người ta mua gì nó tùy thuộc vào cái mùa đó nha. Like for example, in like let's say there are some seasons for let's say plum, or there's some season for dragon fruit. There's some season for durian, or sometimes there are some other kind of fruits or food, special food only available during its season, So what do people usually buy on street markets?
I think what people buy on street markets greatly depends on the seasons. Mm, for example, in particular seasons, people often buy fruits and vegetables, fruits such as plum, dragon fruit, or oranges that are only available during their own seasons. And also in many other fruit seasons, they tend to buy another type of fruit. So, but usually I think they also buy a lot of clothes and meat on street markets, but I think greatly it depends on the seasons.
I see. Well, it's not just food and of fruits, There's sometimes people also buy like fresh seafood, for example, fresh meat, because if you go to the market in the very early morning, you can buy very, very fresh meat because the meat was just prepared from the slaughterhouse, Nó vừa lấy từ lò mổ. And then the meat arrives at the market in early morning during the early morning hours. So it's still relatively fresh, But if you go and buy at the end of the day, of course, the food will be the meat won't be that fresh anymore. It's not good, Now, so when was the last time you went to a street market?
I think the last time I went to a street market is about a few months ago because recently I have turned to going to the supermarket because somehow I feel like I can have many high quality products in the supermarkets rather than a street market. However, sometimes, however, I think that I am going to go to a street market in the near future because the prices at the supermarkets I just cannot bargain. So maybe I'll return to visiting a street market.
I see. I see. Okay, so talking about street market, we have to talk about supermarket now. So are there many supermarkets in your country? You can also talk about convenience stores, or any kind of malls or any kind of supermarkets in the mall, something like that. Are there many supermarkets in your country?
Yeah, definitely. Along with street markets, supermarkets are also really popular in my country. Many people believe in the safety and in the high quality products of those supermarkets. And also in the supermarkets, people can find a lot more foreign products rather than in the street markets.
I see. Mm, so why do so many people prefer street markets than supermarkets? What do you think? Is there a reason for their preference?
Well, to be honest, I think the main reason is that people can easily strike a bargain at street markets rather than a supermarket, because in supermarkets, the sellers already have a fixed price for their products,
Mm,
so it's really hard to just
bargain.
yeah, it's really hard people to bargain. But in street markets, people have no fixed price, and the prices can be due to the seasons due to the due to the productivity. So I think
Productivity?
like
You mean
the
the prices
availability.
depends on like the supply and demand, right? Remember, it's always supply and demand. Nguồn cung cấp và cái đòi hỏi, tức là cái cung cái cầu á. So it's always depend on supply and demand. Okay, can we talk about it now?
Yeah, and in street markets there can be a an imbalance between supply and demand. So sometimes people just can bargain their products with the sellers so that they can reach an agreement much more easily they can than they are in supermarkets. So yeah, I think in general that's the main reason why many people prefer street markets than supermarkets.
I see. Now, okay, so let's go to part two now. Right. Okay, stay three, right. Okay, so let's go to part two now. Okay, try 97. Okay, there are a few more questions here. All right, but 97, describe someone you know who has recently moved to a new place. It can be a friend, it can be a family member, it can be a relative, it can be anybody, who recently moved to a new place. And you should say who he or she is, what a new place is like, why he or she moved to a new place, and explain whether his or her move has a positive impact on you. Like the fact that they move, yeah, does it impact you? Does it influence you in any way positively? Like, for example, what you can learn from it, like to not get stuck in one place, like, for example, to not get stuck in one place for too long, for example, because remember, life is always changing. All right, so why do some young people keep moving? Okay, so it's like a trend going on right now. So many young people just keep moving like from place to places, and they prefer renting than owning, yes. Because you can think about the fact that owning it requires you to have a lot of money, or you have to take loans. You have to take loans from banks, you know. Oh, yeah, and of course you have to work really hard to repay the loans, you know. You have to work really hard to repay the loans. Okay, so for renting, you don't have to care so much. You can just like, if you don't want anymore, you move. It's like that, very easy. And the second thing I can think about is that young people would always love to change their environment, you know. They like to have new perspective. They like to have new perspective on many things. And being in one place for more than a year, hmm, that might not be an alluring thought, for them. It might not be an interesting or an exciting thought for them. No, you know. So that's maybe the reason why. And also think about the fact that house prices is increasing greatly in the recent years, you know. So it means that a lot of young people can never really afford to buy their own apartment or house anymore, you know, or houses anymore. So it means that their whole life is stuck with renting from place and running from places to places, you know. I can think about that, you know. Yeah, that's your future too, Mr. If you're not careful. Yeah. Anyway, so what's the difference between living alone and living with roommates? You can talk about housemate as well, you know, don't have to be a roommate. So when living with roommates, what you have to do, like, can you make a lot of noise? Can you do a lot of private things by yourself, you know? Or can you invite your friends over easily, something like that, you know? And how about cooking? Think about all the activities that you have to do that can affect your roommates, you know? Can you cook? Can you sleep late at night and disturb them somehow, you know? Or can you talk loudly, make noises? Something like that. How about when you live alone? Yeah. And you can also talk about the difference. So, like, for example, when living alone, you have to pay the rent for the whole place, of course. You have to pay the rent for the whole place, of course. You have to do that. And you have to pay a lot more money for utilities. Like, for example, gas, water, electricity, and community fee. Community fees include what? So community fees include like trash collection, thu gom rác, trash collection. What else? Trash collection, cleaning of common areas, clean up common areas around your building, you know, and also maintenance of the neighborhood, you know, because remember, your neighborhood need to be maintained. Like, for example, who will take care of the sewage system? Like sewage system, cái hệ thống cống rãnh đó. Who will take care of that? You know, there has to be someone who maintain those kind of system. And of course, there will be people who take care of the trash, something like that, cleaning common areas. And when there's a winter time, you know, they have to take care of the snow, you know. They have to sweep the snow. Like, for example, if you live in another country that in which there is snow in the winter. So there's a lot of things. Remember, living with roommates or housemate will always be cheaper for you. But of course, there are things you have to take into consideration, you know. And also think about the fact that when you live with roommates, it's actually safer. Sống với lại roommate thường là nó sẽ an toàn hơn nha. Actually, it's safer because and you don't have to be afraid of thieves very much. Because when you live with people, robbery or thieves actually happen much less frequently, you know. Nói chung sống chung với người khác, chung một nhà thì nó sẽ an toàn hơn, thường là như vậy. But of course, less privacy. Ít sự riêng tư, of course. Okay, think about that. You will soon have to consider this one, you know. So is it positive for young people to live by themselves? Like it mean, is it a positive thing? Is it a good thing? For young people to live by themselves, it means that they do not live with anybody else. Like think about sometimes, think about accidents that can happen indoor inside their home, you know. Think about privacy. Of course, you will have that when you live like by yourself. And think about emergency, like emergency situation. Like for example, in case of a fire, for example, hỏa hoạn, in case of a fire, or in case of, let's say, um, like I said, accidents, or in case you are ill or sickness, you know, if living with someone else, people can take care of you, or at least they can call the police, they can call the firefighter, or they can call the ambulance for you, you know. Think about that. But of course, there's a lot of positive thing for young people to live by yourself. Like, for example, if you live by yourself, you have to, oh, sorry, what did I do? If you live by yourself, you have to be able to cook, clean, cook and clean everything by yourself, of course. There's nobody there. There is nobody there to share the work with you, you know? You have to cook and clean by yourself and do every little things by yourself, okay? So it actually is good for independence, you know, good for building independence, good for fostering independence. So it can make you a very independent person who can survive by yourself very, very easily, you know. So think about that. Now, next question I can have for you, besides cooking, are there any other skills that people need to learn if they live on their own? Well, cooking is a survival skill, as I told you before. Yes. And you need to be able to clean your home very well too, because remember, being hygienic or hygiene, it's vital for health, you know. Cái sự vệ sinh nó tối quan trọng cho sức khỏe nha. If you do not wash your dishes often, if you do not clean your house often, you can be sick, you know. So cleanliness is vital for health, or hygiene is vital for health. Also, besides cooking, I think they need to learn to live on their own. You need to have discipline. To have discipline, you know. Họ phải có kỷ luật mới sống được mình nha. Because when people live alone, they are often how can I say, they don't take care of their own appearance very much. And they just go out with their sleeping clothes, you know. And also people tend to wake up very late if they live on their own, you know. So it's hard if you have to go to work and live on your own, you know. Because if you live with people, there will be at least someone to tell you that it's time to work, you know. Wake up, something like that. So you need to have discipline if you live on your own. Không có kỷ luật mà sống một mình không được đâu, thiệt luôn á, chết luôn á. Well, I'm sure if you go abroad to study, you will see a lot of people who have no discipline. Oh my God. And they are a pain. So basically, they are a real pain to live with. Mấy người không có kỷ luật á, sống với họ rất là bực mình luôn á. They are a real pain to live with. Anyway, okay. Um, I think to have discipline is actually a skill too. And to be hygienic, you have to be clean, if you live on your own. And also to live on your own, I think you need to be, how can I say, friendly and hospitable to your neighbors. Cần phải hiếu khách và thân thiện với lại những người hàng xóm đó nha. You need to be friendly and hospitable to your neighbors. Otherwise, you don't want otherwise they can make problems for you. Because remember, if your neighbors does not like you, if your neighbors do not like you, your life won't be easy. Trust me. They can make a lot of noise just to make you move out of that place. Họ thấy là gây rất nhiều tiếng ồn để bắt em phải dọn ra khỏi nơi đó nha. And you might not even be able to sleep. So I think it's actually a good skill to learn to be friendly and hospitable to your neighbors. Like, for example, if you move in, try to give them food or some things, or some items, just to make friends with them, because they live next to you. Mấy người hàng xóm họ sống bên cạnh em luôn á, cho nên là friendly với họ thật tốt hơn. So I think that's what. Now, what kinds of people tend to live by themselves? Well, um, I think you know how to answer this question. And how can parents and teachers help young people to live independently? Well, I think it's better to start giving them, parents and teachers should start to give young people task to do that requires them to work independently first. Give young people tasks to do that requires them to work independently, to take care of their own room, to like, for example, if they do not clean their room, you will not be allowed like a lot of money to spend, something like that. And then teachers and parents can force students or their children to cook by themselves, because there will be some days that parents are too tired. They can decide that, okay, you cook by yourself now. If you starve, I don't care. Something like that. Để cho trẻ nhỏ tự nấu ăn trong một số ngày trong tuần chẳng hạn. Well, that can force people to, it's like a wake-up call. It's like a wake-up call to people. Giống như đánh thức tỉnh lại, đừng có nghĩ là sướng quá rồi. Hồi chuông thức tỉnh. It's like a wake-up call to young people. And also, I think it helps that young people move out of their parents' house as early as possible, I think. Move out of parents' house as early as possible. Dọn ra khỏi nhà của ba má càng sớm càng tốt. I think it's good. It works. Otherwise, children will mostly be very dependent on their parents, especially people in Asia. Không sống riêng ra là không thể nào, không sống riêng càng sống càng tốt, thì sẽ sống tự tự lập được thôi. There are some ways like that I can give you. And also I think parents should stop. Parents should stop doing daily chores or household or housework. and ask their children to help them, you know? So in that case, parents can focus their energy on their work or extra job to earn more money. And also they force their children to take responsibility, you know? They force their children to take responsibility early, you know? Bắt trẻ nhỏ phải chịu trách nhiệm một cách sớm, thật là càng sớm càng tốt. You know? Okay, I can give you some ideas like that. Okay, so you have 97. Are you opening the files now? Because otherwise I have to scroll up and down, you know. Okay, some time to think. Okay, Miss Thư, please describe someone you know who has recently moved to a new place.
So, I would like to talk about my cousin who recently moved to a new city. Well, she has always been an adventurous and open minded person who loved experiences and opportunities. So, when she when she thought that she needed a change of environment, she decided to move to a new city immediately. And the city she has moved to is known for its vibrant culture and its diverse population. It offers an environment with numerous recreational activities and many career prospects.
Career prospect.
Career
Any
prospects.
career prospect.
She decided to move was the reason why she decided to move was that she really wanted a change of environment, and also she desired for to grow personally and also grow about her career, and the city provided her exactly what she needed.
Mhm.
And the impact of her move on me has been really positive. Her
Enthusiasm.
enthusiasm and excitement to embrace change have greatly inspired me to just fear nothing and just step out of my comfort zone and
Mhm.
pursue my own desires. And through her experiences, she's on her social media, she shares a lot of stories and introduces me to various new cultures, lifestyles that she has been exposed to. And so that decision not only enriched her life, her knowledge, but also has a really positive influence on me, broadening my perspective.
Mhm. All right, so let's go to part 3. So why do some young people keep moving?
Well, I think there are two main reasons why some young people keep moving. The first is that they want a change of environment. Young people nowadays tend to be very adventurous, and they are bold, and they want to try something new, something different, rather than just get stuck in one place. So when they move to a new place, they feel like it can offer them a lot of new opportunities for personal and career growth. So
Career growth. Mhm.
yes, so that's why they want a change of environment. And the second reason is probably their work demands. Mm, I think in this globalization world, many young people
You
work
mean in the
in
globalized world? In
yeah
this globalized world? Okay, so let's say in this globalized world. Okay.
in this
Or you can
global
say in this world of globalization.
yeah, in this world of globalization, young people may have to work for a lot of big companies or international companies or just companies that have many institutions in many cities in the country. So, as a part of their work, they have to move constantly in order to meet their clients or just to work more conveniently than just than having to commuting to work every single day. So that's why they I think that's the two reasons why some young people keep moving.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So, what's the difference between living alone and living with roommates then?
Well, I think living alone and living with roommates have a lot of differences. Mm, First, I think living alone gives people more privacy than living with roommates. Because when you live alone, you have more time for yourself and you do not get disturbed by any others' activities or any noise that can distract you from doing what you want. And that way you can easily concentrate on your work or just have time for yourself and enjoy yourself in a different way.
Mm, I
And
see.
moreover,
Mm,
when living alone, people have to do housework on their own rather than having their roommates uh, do that, take turns doing that for you. So for example, when living with roommates, people can divide which person is responsible for what kind of chores, and this can save a lot of time doing housework. When this can save a lot of time doing housework rather than living alone. So I think that's a positive, that a good side. However, I think living alone also means that people have to pay bills on their own. And it is much more expensive than sharing it with your roommates. The cost of the uh, utilities such as gas, water, or electricity can be can put a great can put can put great pressure on many people. So sharing it with the roommates will definitely solve the problem. And I
I
think the last
see.
thing
Hmm.
is that the safety people have when living with roommates. In case of an emergency situation, such as in case of a fire, mm, I think they can call for help. And if you live alone, I think the case is a bit harder for you to escape the situation. So I think those are the differences between living alone and living with roommates.
Okay, so is it positive for young people to live by themselves? It means like they don't live with anybody else, just by themselves. Is it a positive thing?
I think that young people live by themselves can have both good and bad sides. First, they can become more independent when living by themselves, mm, as they live with no one else. So they have to they have to monitor their everyday activities rather than have someone tell them what to do. For example, um, when living alone, they will learn how to cook or how to clean for them by themselves, and this is extremely good for fostering independence for young people. And also, I think it helps them to know how to manage, how to control their spending. So I think the positive side is making young people become independent. However, mm, living alone for young people can also be bad because there are many unexpected accidents that can happen inside where they live, such as a fire or many other problems. And if they live alone, it will be much more difficult for them to call for help.
Mm-hmm.
And, and if and when they live with others, I think that their roommates can help them to
Solve problems
overcome the
and live more
problems. Yeah,
comfortably together, maybe.
yeah. So I think living alone for young people can have both good and bad sides.
Right. So, besides cooking, are there any other skills that people need to learn if they live on their own?
I think when people live on their own, there are a lot of other skills besides cooking that they need to learn. For example, first, I think they have to learn how to um, clean for themselves. Instead of living with parents or with roommates, and you can easily share the housework with them, and you just take and you are just in charge of a particular task. Uh, and when you live alone, you have to take responsibility for all the cleaning, and doing the laundry or cleaning the house, sweeping the floor, a lot of different things. And it is a very important skill because keeping the place hygienic is really
Hygienic.
necessary. Hygienic.
Hygienic. It's an adjective. Hygiene. Sorry, hygiene. It's a noun. Adjective is hygienic. So keeping a place hygienic, it's
Yeah, so keeping the place hygienic is really necessary because in many seasons there's many moisture, and sometimes if people do not clean properly, there may be many problems of mold or insects nesting inside their house, which can be really detrimental to their health. And also, I think people need to learn discipline when they live on their own because there will be no one else to tell them what to do anymore. And whatever they do in their daily life, they always have to decide it for themselves. And for example, they have to set the alarms for themselves without
mm,
rather than having someone just wake them up. And I think um, and I think there are many more skills that people need to learn if they live on their own, but these are the utmost important, I think.
I see. So what kinds of people tend to live by themselves then?
Well, I
Sounds
think,
like you're talking about myself. Talk about me.
yeah, and me too.
Oh, well.
Well, I think what kinds of people tend to live by themselves depend greatly on their personalities or even on the age groups. First, uh, according to many personalities, there can be people who really love the company of their roommates, and they love being surrounded by other people, and they feel much safer when they live around other people who can give them like they want to be around people. So that's the kind of person who will not live by themselves. However, there are many people who are not like that, and they prefer living alone, where they can enjoy themselves. There are many people who just want to live in their own world and just hate getting disturbed by anyone else.
Mm,
So they choose to live by themselves. And moreover, due to the age groups, I think the majority of old people will not want to live by themselves. I have seen many old people love the company of their children or their friends. They really love to have someone to talk to them, and they love being surrounded by people to get involved in something. And um, in contrast, I see many young people who love being alone, where they can just enjoy themselves in their own way. Living alone can help them to just sometimes they can just listen to music and just sing it out loud without disturbing anyone, or they can easily concentrate on what they are doing without having to worry if they are annoying their roommates or not. But I think the case can be reversed. However, I think
How is it reversed now? How can the case be reversed? Can you
like
explain it?
old people, there are also many old people who love being alone
Mhm.
because like all their life they have been working really hard and have been around too many people, and it causes them a lot of annoyance. So when they grow older, they just want to be alone and just want to prioritize themselves and just do whatever they want. And yeah, and for young people, there are also some who like really love being surrounded by people, getting engaged in social activities where they can be around people to get involved, to get engaged in something. And sometimes they do not, and sometimes for them living by themselves means that they are being excluded from other people. So I think what kinds of people tend to live by themselves greatly depends on each individuals, their
Hmm.
personalities, to be specific.
Hmm. I see. Now, so how can parents and teachers help young people to live independently then?
I think there are many ways for parents and teachers help young people to live independently. First, um, they can give young people tasks to do that requires them to work independently, such as giving them chores or house or homework, and then make them do them. I think it will help them to
Mhm.
like maybe control their timing or just solve the problems by themselves, or how to save time or how to conduct it in a most effective way. Moreover, I think they should also give young people, a chance to organize their own rooms to help them become more independent. Because when people grow up, they probably have to move out of their parents' house. So, in order to have an have an organized house, they have to learn how to organize things from organize the smallest things, such as their rooms, how to decorate or how to arrange the items in the room in the most decorative way, in a way that can assist them in their daily activities. Also, I think another important skill for young people from that parents and teachers can teach is that help them learn how to cook, because because when they live independently, there will be no one to just cook for them and just for them in advance before they get home from work or from school, and they just need to know how to cook in order to save a lot of money spent on going out for dinner or for lunch. So I think that's also a good way. In general, I think there are many ways, but I name a few.
I see. Very good. Very good. You answered this topic very well now. Okay, so this is 97, right? Okay, okay, 97 is done. Very good. Now let's try another one. Okay, so Hmm. Why is this topic like there's a lot of space in between them? I don't know why. Moment. Okay, there must be other things here. Of course, of course. So let me just remove. Okay. Okay, so and then remove this one, and then we have the last one here. Okay, and then perfect. It would look perfect now. So let's do 103. Describe a car journey that you remember well. You should say where you went, what you did, who you had the car journey with, and explain how you felt about the journey. So the first part three question would be like, what benefits does public transport bring to the world? Think about public transport as, ferry moment. And then just think about them as, for example, ferry, phà, buses, maybe plural, ferry, buses. What else? Ships, like boats, uh, and of course the metro, the underground system. The underground system is a metro, or basically the metro. Sometimes I think, okay, but remember the taxi is not one of the public transport, okay? It's private transport. Taxi là phương tiện đi lại tư nhân nha. It's a private transport. It's not public transport. Airplanes can be public transport, yes. If they belongs to let's say if the airlines belong to the government, it's a public transport, yeah. So what benefit does public transport bring to the world? Like, of course, it helps people to arrive at their destinations at a cheaper cost. Like, let's say, very affordable and efficient transport to their destination. Just remember that why public transport was invented, because like you want to bring a lot of people to their destinations and you don't want to waste so much money for fuel. And because of that, the tickets for public transport is often cheap, But if you use your own car or your motorbikes, it's often much more expensive because to travel to bring only one or two person, not two people to their destination, you need to spend that much of gas. But for public transport, the cost of travel, let's just say the cost of travel for one person, it's much cheaper, of course. Cái giá thành đi lại cho một người của public transport đương nhiên nó phải rẻ hơn rất nhiều rồi. Of course, much cheaper. And also think about the environmental impact as well. Tác động về môi trường. Think about that. Think about the emissions of fumes or toxic gases from these vehicles. The more personal car, the more private cars, the more the emission of fumes, of course. And it's not good at all for the environment. Think, of course, think also about the fact that in public transport, you can get to meet a lot of people, I mean, it's not like you want to meet them, but if you meet them and you find them interesting, you can be friends, Like, for example, people often meet each other in buses or bus stations, something like that, or train station. Of course, you have to think about train as well, of course, trains. It provide a place for people to meet each other, and what else? Remember, public transport, you can use it to transport heavy loads or heavy items, very heavy items, at a fraction of the price if you use private transport, at a fraction of the price. Nó chỉ là một cái phần nhỏ của cái giá thành mà nếu mà mình dùng phương tiện đi lại tư nhân thì nó đắt hơn nhiều. Of course, it's a fraction of the price of private transport. If you want to transport, like let's say, a big item, a very expensive or heavy items. Now, so is it too late for people to get the driver license at the age of 18? It's funny. Driver license here mean driving a car or a motorbike. Yeah. Do you think it's too late? Now, so what qualities does a driver need to have? Think about when you drive things. You need to be perceptive. Because why? Because why? You have to observe. You have to observe the roads. You have to observe every little thing on the road. And your vehicle is moving at a very high speed. I mean, compared to when you walk, of course. So being perceptive is, I think, essential. If you do not perceive, if you do not see people, you might bump into them. You might crash into them. You may clash or crash into trees or people and cause accidents, of course. So I think being perceptive is extremely important for drivers. And being drivers, you need to be calm. You need to be patient as well. Because if you're not patient when you're driving or riding a bike or something, you might run the red light. Vượt đèn đỏ, you may run the red light, and that violates the traffic law, vi phạm luật giao thông. And worse, it can cause accidents. So I think patience is a very important quality that driver needs to have. Maybe there should be another one. The other ones like you need to be calm, of course. Patient, you need to be calm and know how to react in case of an emergency. Like, for example, if you see someone on the road bleeding and needing help, emergency help, first thing first, you have to call the police, call the ambulance, and then you try to go down and help them. Okay. Calm and know how to react in case of an emergency. Okay. And also, you can talk about qualities drivers should not have, like, for example, they cannot be hot-headed, or they cannot be impatient. Being impatient on the road actually create a lot of accidents, a lot of problems. You don't want that. And also, you can talk about qualities drivers should never have. Now, do you think the government should make it a rule for people to use public transport? See, if you make it a rules, everyone will have to use it now. So it means that you are obliged. So it means you are obliged to use it, or it is obligatory to use public transport. And then it means that people cannot own any private vehicles because you have to use public transport anyway. This is what happened during I think many years ago when people were so poor and they have to use public transport. But I don't think they ever make it a rules. If you don't use public transport, you can walk. không xài có đi lại công cộng thì đi bộ hoặc đi xe riêng. All right, I think you know the answer for this one. Now, which jobs require people to be good at driving? Obviously, if you are a driver, if you are a taxi driver, you have to be good at driving. But think about other jobs. Taxi driver, truck driver as well, or any kind of like, for example, if you are a firefighter, or if you are, let's say, ambulance drivers, something like that, then you have to be good at driving. Of course, any job that requires you to drive a lot requires you to be good at driving, of course. Công việc nào cần phải lái xe rất nhiều thì đương nhiên mình phải good at driving thôi. Okay, I think sportsman, like for example, if you are in a car race, like car racer, người đua xe, if you are a car racer, of course you have to be very good at driving and driving at a very high speed, you know. And okay, so think about that. Do you see driverless cars as the futures of cars? Anh chị có thấy những xe không có người lái như tương lai của xe hơi không? Like cars that you do not have to drive and the car will drive on its own, you know? Driverless cars, like cars that can drive on their own. Like it use AI to drive you, you know? Dùng trí thông minh nhân tạo để mà lái mình. Is it a future? And will drivers be jobless? Will drivers be unemployed soon? You know, because we are having what's it called? Electric cars these days, you know, like VinFast or Tesla have already like, you know, released a lot of those electric cars, you know. Think about electric cars. And a lot of those cars, there are AIs on there and they can drive very safely. But the problem is there's a lot of issues with their algorithms, you know. Cái thuật toán của nó có vấn đề nha. There's a lot of issue with their algorithms. And as a result, you know, they tested some of their cars and the result was not very good. It slammed into trees and things like that. So think about that. But also think about the fact that if you truly have a working driverless cars, there will be much less accidents, you know. There will be many less cases of accidents. And also think about the fact that if people do not have to drive their own cars, they can use that time to work while they arrive at their destination, you know. Nó dùng cái thời gian để mà driving đó để mà họ làm việc tiếp khi mà đi đến nơi họ mong muốn. And of course, it would probably improve the work productivity, you know, improve the work productivity. And also people can enjoy the ride to their destination without having any worry at all, you know. Think about that. Okay, some time to think now. Okay, so let's describe a car journey that you remember well, Mr. Please.
So, a car journey that I remember really well is when my friends and I traveled to Hạ Long Bay. It was a very memorable experience filled with extraordinary landscapes and quality
It's
friendship.
extraordinary. It's actually pronounced as extraordinary, not extraordinary, okay? So if you check, of course, you can check the dictionary. I made a mistake a long times ago, yes, but now I know. It sounds like extraordinary, right? No, but it's actually pronounced differently. If you check it out, here.
Extraordinary. Extraordinary.
Extraordinary. Okay, moment. I'll share sound.
Extraordinary.
Extraordinary. Extraordinary.
Not extraordinary, okay? It's just extraordinary, okay? All right, let's do it again. Describe a car journey that you remember well.
So a car journey that I remember, really well is when my friends and I traveled to Ha Long Bay. It was a very memorable experience, filled with extraordinary landscapes and quality friend time. We set off this journey during summer holidays, and Ha Long Bay is located in the northeast part of Vietnam, known for its beautiful blue waters and limestone. And it took us 3 hours from the city where we live to Ha Long Bay. And during the car journey, we enjoyed the stunning scenery along the way. The road went through many green fields and small villages, providing glimpses of rural life and urban life mixed together in Vietnam. And also on the way, we can witness, we can see the natural beauty of Ha Long Bay, which was truly mesmerizing, and seeing it through the window to inside the car is just felt like a whole different experience for us. And on this car journey, I spent a lot of time with my friends. We chatted, laughed, and shared our excitement along the way because it was our first time traveling together. And it was a very fun time, a bonding time for our friendship, and it created lasting memories that we still cherish until this day.
Lasting memory. Very good, very good. Now, so what benefits does public transport bring to the world then?
Well, I think there are a lot of benefits that public transport brings to the world. First and foremost, I think we had to public transport is affordable and a very efficient method of traveling for many people. Well, in the first place, public transport was invented to carry people along through long journeys, and because a lot of people use them, that's why the fees are not as expensive as traveling by private vehicles, such as
Vehicles.
cars, vehicles,
Vehicles.
vehicles,
Mhm,
vehicles, such
mhm.
as cars or motorbikes. So it can be a very affordable choice for people, for many, both the low income or high income people in general.
Mhm. I agree.
Also, it benefits uh, the environment a lot because if to use their private vehicles, such as cars or motorbikes, it could create emissions of fumes,
A
which
lot of
can
them,
be
right?
really
It's like
detrimental.
like an extraterrestrial amount of emissions, right? A big amount, a colossal amount, yeah.
Yeah, and it not only creates a lot of pollution, air pollution, and even noise pollution, but it also causes many problems for health problems for people, such as deteriorating respiratory system or many lung cancers that many people have faced nowadays. So using public transport can help to solve the problems of pollution and health issues for many people. So I think that's the two main benefits that public transport can bring to the world.
So, do you think it's too late for people to get the driver license at the age of 18?
Actually, I think no, it's not too late at all for people at the age of 18 get their driver license. I think it's a very appropriate timing for people. In the majority of countries in the world, 18 is serves as a milestone to mark the to mark a
Mm-hmm.
enough knowledge and responsibility for their actions. And I think when they are 18, they have a very full mindset. Like they know what to do, and they will know they will take responsibility for what they do. So getting the drive.
Oh, sorry. I think. Oh my God, she got cut off. Okay, you're back now. Okay, great. So what do you say about it's an appropriate time more than ever to get a driver license at the age of 18? Yeah.
Yeah, many people when they turn 18, feel more they feel a sense of ownership. They feel a sense of responsibility over their actions. So when they get their driver license at this age, they probably will become more careful, and they are aware of their actions, rather than at the age of under 18, where they are still considered young. When they are still considered children, adolescents, who are clearly sometimes not under not under do not understand what they are doing, and may just avoid taking responsibility.
Hmm. I see. So what
So
qualities
yeah,
does a driver need to have then?
well, to become a driver, I think a person needs to have a lot of qualities. First, they have to be really perceptive, because they have to perceive a situation, and they have to be skilled enough to handle any situation on the road.
Mm-hmm.
In case of in case of an accident, or in case of an accident or a block on the road, they need to know how to deal with that problem, um, and avoid crashing into trees, into people. So I think that's really important for both the drivers and the people on the road. Also, being a driver requires people to be careful and calm, no matter what. Uh, in many, in on the roads, there are many unexpected that may surprise drivers.
Hmm.
For example, there can be a
Animals?
dog or an animal, like just
Are
pass
you
through the
blind
street
animals?
without being aware. And sometimes if the drivers are not calm, and also can harm themselves. But if they know how to react, they can easily avoid hitting the animals, and also save themselves.
Mm-hmm. I
Um,
see. Also, what do you know about being patient? A lot of people they violate traffic rules because they are not patient enough. What do you think about
yeah, Also, a driver also needs to be patient. There are many cases of drivers who are not patient enough, and then they violate the laws. And sometimes they just jump the red line, and then cause accidents, which which injure themselves and also the people using the roads.
I think I need to check this. Run a red line. Run a red light. If a vehicle enters an intersection at any time after the signal light has turned red, the driver has committed a violation. So you should not be a red light runner. Người vượt đèn đỏ. So run a red light. Okay. Should not run a red light. Okay. So do you think the government should make it a rule for people to use public transport? Hello?
Yeah. Yeah, I
So should
think
it be a
that's
rule, so that forces people to use public transport more,
yeah.
It's a hard question. What do you think about it?
I think actually the government shouldn't make it a rule, but just encourage the use of public transport. Because when the government make it obligatory for people to use public transport, I think it puts a great pressure on those kinds of transport. And also because there are too many people using them, there can be many problems that can arise when people travel in those public transport. For example, on buses, it is common that there are many pickpockets. There are many people who pickpocket, yeah. And people may not be aware of it because there are too many people, so they just clearly do not recognize what is happening around them. So many people have lost their personal items or money because of traveling in those public transport. However, I think that using public transport should be encouraged. For example, because it is undeniable that public transport brings a lot of benefits to people and to the environment. People can afford it easily, and using public transport can reduce a lot of emissions from private cars or motorbikes that can clearly harm people's health. And when using public transport, it can because not many people use their private vehicles anymore, so it can greatly reduce the pollution. And the government should encourage it by probably just encouraged by improving the quality of those transports or
And also, I think
lowering the costs or just make it available to many people.
one other way is just to increase the price of petrol, People will have to make a choice if the government increase the price of petrol now, if petrol price increases so much, people will have to abandon their cars, and go with public transport. That's the only way that is cheaper. I think that's one good way. Now, so which jobs require people to be good at driving then?
Well, I think there are a few jobs that require people to be good at driving, such as drivers or car racers, of course. Well, those professional drivers or such as taxi drivers, truck drivers, often require people to have really good driving skills. And also in the case of emergency
In the case of an emergency.
drivers, in the case of an emergency, such as like a firefighter or ambulance drivers, they not only need to drive fast, drive quickly to get to the destination that is in need of help, but they also need to try not to cause any accidents while when driving at such a great speed.
Mhm. Yes.
So
Anything else?
and also the car racers, they are really in
Professionals. They are professionals,
yeah.
and
So
they know how to drive really, really quickly without ever causing accidents. They are like top. They are the top of the top. So they are really good with driving. So yeah, of course there are still accidents sometimes, but it happens much less compared to a normal person driving. Okay, anything else?
no, I think that's the two jobs: drivers, professional
Okay.
drivers.
Oh,
Car.
thank you. So do you see driverless cars as a future of cars?
To be honest, I think that driverless cars used can be used by a number of people, but it's not really much as popular as regular cars running on driven by people. Well, as a matter of fact, I think in the future people will have less time to people are much busier, and sometimes driverless cars can help them to reduce the time that they need to drive cars. Instead, they can just get on the car and do their jobs without worrying about monitoring the vehicles. And also, I think the driverless cars have a certain set of advantages as of safety because they are programmed or they are invented by people. And I think when they are used, they have a certain, I think they will make fewer mistakes human than cars driven by humans somehow. However, accidents still happen, but I think they are less than cars by human. However, I think the they are not really as popular as the cars driven by human because I think even now or in the future, people still have a belief in themselves more than in the AI or in the computers to monitor the way of monitor their cars. Even though they make more mistakes or fewer mistakes, hold they still hold a firm belief in themselves where they can because they think humans can easily deal with many problems on the road rather than cars. So in general, I think the future of cars may not be driverless cars, but both driverless cars and uh, cars driven by humans. They both go hand in hand.
I see. So, do you see driverless cars as a future of car?
You just asked that
Oh,
question.
sorry. I was like, what? I think my mind is a bit absent-minded today. Sorry. Okay, I did listen to that, but I'm like, what? Okay. Anyway, so it's 103. Um, okay, so we have a few part two. Okay, let's do 114 now. Describe an astronomy event you saw. Remember, astronomy is different from astrology, okay? So astrology is basically how the planets influence humans, events, and human characteristics, things like that. But astronomy basically deals with the physical, the chemicals, the biological properties of the planets, stars, comets, moon, something like that. Một cái là chiêm tinh astrology, một cái là thiên văn học. Describe an astronomy event you saw. Miêu tả một sự kiện thiên văn mà anh chị đã nhìn thấy được. Of course, the most common one I can mention, it's of course, what's it called? A solar eclipse. Solar or lunar eclipse. Nguyệt thực, nhật thực hay nguyệt thực. A solar eclipse or lunar eclipse. You can also talk about when you see a shooting star, sao băng. There's also another event. I think it's worth mentioning, an astronomy event. You can talk about a full moon, a blood moon, you know. Ever seen a blood moon before? Trăng máu.
Yeah.
Actually, in Vietnam, it's hard to see it's really red. It's just like a reddish, you know, it's just reddish. It's not exactly red. Ở Việt Nam á, thật sự khó nhìn thấy trăng máu. Nhưng mà cái màu nó đỏ đỏ hoe hoe ha. It's just reddish. It's not exactly red. Blood moon, something like that. So you should like say like, when was it? Did you watch it with somebody? Something like that. And what do you think about that event? Something like that, you know. Remember, there were a lot of blood moons from 2020 until now. Có mấy cái blood moon rồi đó. Từ 2020 đến giờ. Okay, some time to think. Okay, please describe an astronomy event you saw.
So, I would like to talk about a time when I saw a shooting star, just about a few years ago, as I recall. Well, at that time, I stayed at home with my brother on that day, and
Mhm.
it was an event that it was an unexpected event, and it happened in late at night. I was just watching movies, and then I went out to close the window, and all of a sudden, I saw a shooting star on the sky. At first, I didn't recognize what it was, but then I just recalled my memory, what I have read on the internet, and then I searched for it, and then it turned out that it was a shooting star, and and when I first saw it, I got really excited, and I immediately told my brother to come see it with me. It was a very wonderful thing for me to see in with my naked eye,
Mhm.
and I was really happy. I was over the moon to see that shooting star, and I heard that if you saw a shooting star, you should wish for something. And actually, at that time, I wished for getting into my favorite high school, and actually it happened, and I think it was a very beautiful and rare event that I have seen.
Mhm.
And this event has made me like realize how wonderful and um, mysterious and
Extraordinary.
extraordinary
Phi thường.
our world
Extraordinary.
is.
Extraordinary the universe can be, right? You mean?
Yeah.
Right. Okay, let's try. Okay, there are a few questions of topic, I think 40 something that I think you can try. Let's okay, let's try 49. So basically describe a loving person that you know. Careful, because loving and lovely mean differently, you know. So loving means you often show the love to others. You often show the love to others. But lovely means you are attractive and cute, and people like you a lot. So these two adjectives means very differently. Loving, like for example, parents can be loving because they show the love to their children, but sometimes they're not that lovely, you know. Or someone can be very lovely but not loving because he or she doesn't show the love very often. Một cái là dễ thương là lovely, còn loving là hay thể hiện cảm xúc, tình cảm. Describe a loving person that you know. You should say who this person is, how long you have known this person, why is this person loving, and how do you like this person. So you have to be careful with this adjective, okay? Okay, describe a loving person that you know, please.
So I would like to talk about my best friend, who I consider is a very loving person. I have known her for just about three years. We met in the last grade of secondary school, and we have been in this very close friendship since then. And the reason why I consider her to be very loving is because she shows her love to me very frequently. Just whenever she wants, she just always hugs me or just compliments me in her own way, which is very we can really encourages me. And she also believes that when she still has time, she always has to show love to other people, so that even when she grows up or we just fall and we just stay away from each other and no longer be friends, she will not regret the time she spent, or she will not regret the efforts she have devoted to the relationship. And I really love being her friend. I really love her character as well, because I'm someone who do not usually show affection to someone else. I usually just keep it to myself and just and just and just deliver my love through actions. But she is completely different from me. She always shows love, which can somehow really just boost my mood in various situations that I have overcome. And this way, she has always helped me to go through a lot of ups and downs in my school years, which I really appreciate. So that's my best friend, who is a loving person that I really love.
Perfect. Okay, so I think it's good enough for today now. Let's end the lesson here and I'll see you on Tuesday. Okay?
See you. Goodbye.
See you. Goodbye.